I think you started playing violin first at a very, very young age. But now you also play viola, obviously, and then cello and piano and percussion. And amongst all these different things that you do, did you want to be a performer and then you grew from there, or?
My father is a genius pianist, composer, songwriter. His name is Steve Ferguson, and he is a very passionate musician. And my mom was a special ed teacher, but she was also very passionate about not just music, but cultures all around the world. And so I'm really thankful to my parents that they raised me to have a curiosity for all cultures, and that all cultures have a lot to offer us. You know, we have so much to learn from every single culture. So I had that openness, and as a kid, as a toddler, actually, they would put repeat tapes of Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, Chopin, you know, all these great composers, and so that became my connection to the world, actually. And then I was lucky enough to grow up in the hills, and I would go out to the state park and connect with nature. And so that was my foundation. And hearing my father like practice Chopin as a young kid, and then my brother starting piano and my sister starting cello, it was just all around us. And I'm really thankful to have my uncle here. This is Lloyd Ferguson, physics professor, and recently retired physics professor, and just a hero to me. And he's shared so much music with me, and I'm so thankful to you to really turn me on to like Art Blakey and like John Coltrane, and he gave me a lot of my first jazz CDs. And really, once I heard John Coltrane, I'm like, okay, that's it for me, So I study all music, but John Coltrane really has touched me so deeply. These days, I'm really into, does anyone know Ennio Juhani Rautavaara? He's like the second most famous Finnish composer after Sibelius. Check him out. He's amazing. So hearing all this music around me, it just became like natural. My brother did the Suzuki method, and so I was at one of those Suzuki institutes, and I saw these little kids playing violin, and my mom says that I told her very clearly, that's what I want to do. Please, please give me lessons. And so I took weekly lessons, from age 4 to like 24, and, theory lessons, chamber music, all these. And I was very lucky. It took my whole family to pitch in. We weren't necessarily poor, but it cost so much money. I mean, just a bow, my bow is $2,500, and that's a lot of money. The lessons, I think, were like $75. I mean, those add up, once a week, and chamber music. And so, I was very fortunate, and I wasn't like the best student. I was definitely messing around. Now I'm really serious, and I practice as much as I can. I enjoy it. It's meditative. Started writing symphonic music when I was 8, and I've always just been a music nerd, so I've always felt a bit alienated in my life, and I would just, try to soothe myself through music. And now I'm starting to be able to, function better and feel more confident, being a human being, interacting with people. But I'm 38, so it's taken a couple years.
There's quite often that when you ask people, or violinists or string players, to play with the back of their bow, they usually take pencils just because the bows are so expensive.
Oh yeah, I seriously cooled out today. I have a crack in my viola, and so I have to get a new top. It's like maybe $5,500 for my particular viola. So I'm usually like, that's maybe the reason why I have a crack in the top of my viola. I'm usually kind of like going at it. So I don't think you probably saw me really do too much today. But I like to use it as a percussive instrument. Not the smartest idea.
So when you take on these different roles within music, how do you mentally separate it to really kind of focus on one thing and do the most creative you can do?
I'm a practicing Buddhist, so I meditate every day. And I've been doing that for 20 years, and it really works for me. I take breaks, and I've found that exercising a little bit throughout the day keeps the blood flowing, And also, 'cause I don't have tons of money in my bank account, so it's not like I get to say no to a lot of projects. I do say no, but a lot of the projects can enhance the other. So, like I just got done, Questlove asked me to write these symphonic Prince arrangements. There's an orchestra going around the world right now. They're doing 35 concerts in America, and then they're going to go to Europe and do like 20, 30 concerts. And he asked me last minute to orchestrate like 70% of the concert. And it seemed really fun. And it was really fun, but I was working 16 to 21 hours every day for 3.5 weeks, and it was painful. It was really painful, and I've done this before, and I worked really hard to avoid that. I'm sure a lot of you in the industry work insane hours. Sleep deprivation it's like on the list of how to torture people. It's like literally torturous. And then you're having to be your best when you're up. I mean, it's insane. I did have a breakthrough this time. I realized that it's better just to let yourself go to sleep for 5 to 20 minutes than to just keep on like pushing yourself, past the brink of whatever you fill in the blank. So that's cool. That's a little breakthrough. But yeah, projects overlapped, and so like I brought that up as an example. So I was working on that, but then I would take breaks and like go practice like a John Coltrane solo, and it would just give me energy, and so then I could be rejuvenated and then go back to that project. So I'm not a workaholic actually, so I try to avoid that. But if you're giving your all to a certain project, to be able, you need to have a break from that, and so taking your focus off that and doing anything becomes like this beautiful thing that can rejuvenate you. So whether it's working on another project or going to take a walk or cooking, I like to cook.
You said you did write film music a little bit.
Yeah.
How was the first one? Was it a bit daunting to you? New territory, or could it take a lot of...
No, it was pretty cool because I'm not somebody that has really fit in to the norms. I'm not impressed with myself or something. I'm not coming from a place of arrogance, but I just let people know when they work with me, I'm like, this is who I am, for better, for worse. And, there's so many really talented, creative people out there. Just because you heard something I did that you like, that doesn't mean that you have to work with me. I would love to work with you, but if you're going to work with me, it's like, I'm not going to be doing a bunch of demos. I rarely do a demo for someone. I mean, that's one reason why I don't work more in film. It's intrinsic in the nature of that beast, is that the picture's always changing, and even once it's quote unquote locked, it's not necessarily locked. And so I love to license my music a lot of the time, and it's a great way to be able to let them, edit the music however they want, and then sometimes I'll just pick a couple, cues to write. So most of the time, it's actually been really nice. It hasn't been that painful because people realize that I'm not going to be their slave.
But then you also worked on the other side of film and TV, where you've been playing. For example, for Dexter, I saw you've done some music and recording sessions. Yeah, how does that differ from working with artists?
It's pretty cut and dry. The other fellows in my string quartet do more of that than me now. I've started turning down more of that work because I want to focus on my own composing and arranging. Most of the time, it's pretty cut and dry. You're not being asked to write their music on the spot for them, which happens sometimes. Once they find out that you're an improviser, they will be like, "Oh, what ideas do you have?" And pretty soon you've written a score for somebody. But most of the time, they're just giving you a piece of paper with all the music there, and most of the time they have their shit together, and it's pretty easy breezy, and most of the time it's pretty fun. It takes so much time, as you know, to do anything well. I'm trying to be more choosy, and I'm trying to work on my first album right now. I have it down from 500 hours to 46 hours. So, and I'm trying to be handed in January 1. Yeah, it hasn't been that grueling. Sometimes people will do, triple sessions in a day, and it can take over your life. And, growing up in Los Angeles, I've seen a lot of things in the industry, and one thing that hurts my heart is seeing these brilliant, genius musicians, instrumentalists, into their 40s, 50s, 60s, and then they become really bitter. Mm-hmm. And they're amazing at what they do, and they're really, literally geniuses. They're so intelligent, and they're doing circus stuff on their instruments. It's amazing. But a lot of them, not all of them, but a good percentage of people that are not really challenging their own creativity as being a producer of a project, sometimes they start to become bitter. It's just a certain percentage. And, I've seen these people, and, a lot of them are very nice, but I refuse to become bitter. And it's easy to blame the quote-unquote industry, just like how it's easy to blame the government, there's a parallel there. But, in a sense, we are the government, we are the industry. And so this is a really special occasion because I think there's something about creativity and spiritualism that is bringing us together. This is not, you can feel it in the air. It's visceral. This is, there's something special going on here. We're not just, going through the motions. We're not just trying to placate one another. We're not just kissing each other's asses. Like, we're alive, and we're trying to fan the flames of our own existence. So, yeah, just stepping into one's authenticity and then following through, and then just wishing everyone the best along the way, and trying not to trip off of other people tripping, and just trying to be helpful. Yeah.
So there's room sometimes for workshopping with the composer, or
yeah,
kind of enhance the composer's vision.
Yeah, most composers that I've worked with are dealing with no sleep. Mm-hmm. They might have a baby or two, and they're trying to keep their home life together, and they're paying their bills. And isn't it interesting when we're working with maybe a brilliant producer that is very passionate about music, but trying to put their passion into words is hilarious at times. It depends. It's just genre to genre, composer to composer, and that's one thing that I think is really behooving for all of us in whatever facet we do, whatever we do, is learning who are we working with, and then learning how to maximize, our time with that person. Duke Ellington and John Williams, for instance, write the first name of the player on their part. They're not just writing for any second trombonist. They're writing for that person, and they're wanting to maximize that person's not only technique on the instrument, but their character. And that's ultimately, I think, what it is we're sharing is, who are we as a human being? I didn't think that growing up, but once I started getting more into composition and improvisation, I realized that, definitely that makes total sense to me. How could we spit out something either in the moment or as a composer that's not actually coming from our life? It's coming from our life.
You also seem to be a go-to musician, judging by the long list of albums you've been working on, for example. Do people go to you for your sound specifically? Do you have a lot of freedom to put your own ideas down? Or is it a bit restrictive sometimes? And how would a collaboration work when you come together with another artist?
It's pretty humbling because I don't necessarily feel very successful. I feel pretty much like a failure every day, but as I am slowly maturing and breaking through, I'm realizing, that's what success looks like. Being able to have small failures and then being able to juice them for good, not just for yourself, but everyone around you. So thankfully, I'm not drowning in my many failures. I don't know. word of mouth, and people's, feelings are really powerful. Intuition, where intuition and emotions meet, is an incredibly powerful place. And you know how you feel about certain things. And someone can tell you this or that, and it can enhance or influence your feelings. But underneath everything, our own connection to our own feelings and psyche is, what's the foundation of our life in a certain way. So if someone hears something and it really touches them in a very deep place, they can just lose all other perspective. People just listening to something I did on someone's album, or, I have a couple unofficial releases, but I don't even have an official release yet. And a lot of the time when I'm working on other people's albums, it's not necessarily like flashy or something. I'm not a vocalist or a rapper that, is singing or rapping lyrics. So I don't stick out. So it's really just music heads that usually, come after me. And, at the end of the day, I just would be so happy if I could play a little bit more in tune and just get better. Like, I don't necessarily really want to be, famous or well-known. I just want to, get better. I don't really know how to answer your question.
I guess what I wanted to know is kind of, are you usually invited over to a recording studio? You go there, or you record at your home and then you send over your ideas? Kind of the process of the practicality of...
I'm only starting to record at my place now. So I have Pro Tools and a couple mics. And,
Pro Tools, okay.
And, being a string player for almost 35 years, I know what it is I'm going for. And so now I can actually record myself sounding better than major studios. But it's fun not to have to engineer also. Yeah. So I do a combination of whatever the project needs.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Miguel. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks,